everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm Raquel, and today I'm going to tell you something that I wish I had known way back when I was still performing. Have you ever felt paralyzed or sick to your stomach, or maybe even hyper and rushed right before a performance or an exam? Well, I'm here to tell you that there is homeopathy for that. Today I'm going to tell you the top 3 remedies for anticipatory anxiety. And if you stick on around till the end, I'm going to give you 2 extra bonus remedies that might also be able to help you out a little bit. As always, the information in these videos is intended for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. If there's ever any doubt as to whether someone needs to see a professional, be sure to go and contact that proper professional. Also, the remedies in this video are specifically for acute bouts of anticipatory anxiety. If you find yourself experiencing anxiety on a regular basis as a more chronic thing, you do need to see a homeopath. They can do a whole lot to help you feel much more centered and balanced, but that is definitely beyond the scope of any of my videos. And then finally, this is homeopathy we're talking about. So of course there are far more than 3 or 4 remedies for anticipatory anxiety. So if you go through this and you don't think that any of these quite fit you, don't lose hope. It just means that you need to do a little bit more digging to find one of the less common remedies. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. First remedy, Argentum Nitricum. This is the #1 remedy for fear of flying or heights. People who need this remedy are in a hurry. They just don't stop. They often are watching the clock and they either feel like there isn't enough time or that time is going by too slowly. They can be very irritable, angry, even explosive. They are often ready for their events early, and they are very restless and may tremble a bit. Even their mind can be restless. This is known as the what if remedy because their mind is always turning over thoughts like what if this and what if that. They just are continuously going. They're in a hurry. They often have a fear of failure, which can be justified because they're rushing around so much that they get a little sloppy. They often have loud intestinal gurgling and even loud belching or flatulence. Homeopathy, we need all these symptoms, even though they're not pleasant. They are usually better for the open air or walking fast, which is why you might see them pacing back and forth. They are worse for crowds, worse for warm, stuffy rooms, and for being alone. They prefer company. They also may crave sweets, and after they eat them, feel worse. Remedy #2, Gelsemium. People who need Gelsemium have a fear of losing control or of new situations. They feel weak. They might feel slow and sluggish, maybe even paralyzed with panic or fear. Their limbs might feel heavy, and they might tremble like jello. They might have butterflies in their stomach and get a little bit of diarrhea, and they might even feel like they're coming down with the flu. Often, Gelsemium types have memory lapses. Their mind just goes blank and they can't think of what it was that they needed to know. Often, Gelsemium types have memory lapses. Their mind just goes blank and they can't remember what they needed to know. If their event was involving them speaking or singing, sometimes their voice just disappears and they can't talk at all. Often Gelsemium types will find that going to the bathroom and going pee will actually help alleviate some of their upset stomach symptoms. And they're usually worse for company. They want to be left alone. Remedy #3, Lycopodium. Lycopodium types stand out because they feel a very low self-confidence, but they tend to overcompensate for that by being really rude or boastful, or they talk too much. They actually usually do really well at whatever it was that they were anxious about, despite their insistence that they can't do it. They might feel bloated or gassy, and after the event, they might feel exhausted. And they prefer to not be alone, but not be with anybody either. An ideal situation for them would be somebody in the same house, but in another room, not too close. So there you have it, Argentum Nitricum, Gelsemium, and Lycopodium, the top 3 remedies related to anxiety for speaking or test taking or performing. There are a couple of other remedies I wanted to mention, however, that can be helpful in stressful situations. The first bonus remedy isn't for stage fright, but it can be really helpful in situations where there's intense fear or sense of dread because of a traumatic event or shock to your system that may have happened in the past and that you are afraid of happening again this time around. An example would be one time when I went to the dentist, I had a really terrible experience. I was in pain during the visit and for 6 months afterwards. And I also had a really big health crash right afterwards. You could definitely say this was a shock to my system. And I avoided going to the dentist for as long as I possibly could after that. And in fact, the only reason I went again was because I broke my tooth and I didn't have a choice. Well, on this visit where I was going to get my tooth fixed, I had just started learning about homeopathy, and so I tried Gelsemium for my anxiety while I was sitting in the waiting room waiting to see the dentist. But I didn't get much relief from it. And while I was sitting in the dentist chair, my whole body was just shaking like a leaf, my heart was pounding, and tears were streaming down my face. And in my mind, I was thinking, this is ridiculous. This isn't that big of a deal. You're not in pain. He's just fixing your tooth. You're fine. But I couldn't control my body's response. And even the dentist seemed a little bit unnerved by what was going on. On my way home, I kept thinking, and my mind was also racing, and I was thinking, why is this happening to me? Why am I still upset about this even now? It's not like I was dying or anything. That was my thought. And as soon as I had that thought, I knew exactly what remedy I needed. Because aconite is the #1 remedy for fear of death. And even though mentally I knew I was fine, my body subconsciously had that intense fear of death. And I took that remedy and immediately the heart palpitations stopped, my mind slowed down, I felt like I could breathe again. Oh, it was so helpful. A little while later, I felt those sensations starting up again as I was thinking about what had happened that day, and I took another dose, and that was all I needed, and I felt much better. It was so helpful. I wish I had thought to try that before the actual procedure. The dentist probably would have appreciated that. All right, so let me tell you about aconite. This is a not to be consoled type of anxiety. These people often feel their heart pounding, they feel restless and almost as if they want to crawl out of their skin. Their lips, tongue, and mouth may feel numb, and they may have a dry mouth and an unquenchable thirst. And they might feel a little bit better out in the fresh air. That is aconite. And finally, this last remedy isn't strictly classical homeopathy, but a lot of classical homeopaths use it, and it is called Rescue Remedy, and it's a combination of 5 of Bach's flower remedies, which are always in a 5X. You can find it in their local health food store. It's pretty common. You can find it in dropper form like this, or a spray, which you don't have, that you just spray right into your mouth, or these little handy-dandy pastilles. And it can be helpful in any situation that causes stress or anxiety, particularly if you don't have time to sit down and think about your exact symptoms to match the homeopathic remedy. The 5 flowers included, I've written them down so I don't miss any, are impatiens, which helps with patience, the Star of Bethlehem, which is for trauma or shock, cherry plum, which is a fear of losing control, rock rose for panic or terror, and clematis to bring clarity of thought and alertness. have for you today. If you found a remedy that sounds like it might fit you, but you're not sure how to take it, be sure to check out my video on dosing. I will link to it here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up below to let me know. If you've ever used homeopathy to help yourself with a stressful situation, I want to hear about your experience and what it did for you. So tell me in the comments below. If you want to hear more of my videos, be sure to click that subscribe button followed by the alert button so that you get notifications every time I post, which is usually on Tuesdays. Alright, I hope you all have a wonderful day and I will see you again soon.